Greetings from Cape Town, which, as you can see, is one of the most physically beautiful countries in the world. I'm Laura Chenowich. I'm a professor at the University of Cape Town, and I'm delighted to be sharing my responses to the 5 thoughtful questions which Fabio has sent my way. The first question which was posed to me is, what are the main challenges to make online education a quality option that guarantees the right to education? And it's a really interesting question because, of course, there are so many challenges. And I'm going to simply focus on the one challenge, which is the cultural change that is required of educators and academics who are used to an individualistic approach to teaching. And what online education does is it requires not only a collaborative approach, but also a planned approach. So for many academics in universities, they can be fairly ad hoc. They can decide the day before what they're going to teach, and they can stand up and teach. Whereas online education requires planning, storyboarding, collaboration with specialists like learning designers, videographers, etc. And so the adjustment from working as an individual to working in a team is a huge one for academics. And given the many years of cultural entrenched practice, I would suggest that this is one of the most difficult adjustments and one of the biggest challenges. Right, your next question was, if you could imagine a technological development to be implemented in online education, what would it be? And once again, there's so many answers that one could give. I would argue that the most important development would be ubiquitous Wi-Fi and cheap data. If you look at this amazing infographic that shows the cost of 1 gig of data, you can see the extraordinary differences across countries and within countries even of the cost of a gig of data. And this means that it's impossible to fairly and equally introduce online education when, as soon as people leave safe, contained spaces like universities, they are faced with the cost of connectivity. And that's certainly something we saw during the pandemic. So arguably, the state needs to intervene to ensure that cell phone companies are regulated to provide reasonably priced data, and there should be more than one network to maximize competition, and Wi-Fi in public spaces should become the norm. Right, next question. What do you consider to be the contribution of emerging technologies such as big data? Well, wow, there are so many possibilities. And here are just a few: in health, in tropical diseases, in climate change. The question is not what can be done. The question is actually who does it, who owns it, whose data, and what are the terms. Because these wonderful examples come from the AI Observatory, but the biggest problem at the moment is that all the resources, technical, cognitive, cultural capital, are coming from the global north. And in fact, they're in the hands of a very small number of big tech companies. And countries like Argentina, like South Africa, and other countries in the global south are not gaining the expertise needed to drive those agendas. So really the question is not what can we do, but how can we in the global south get to own that agenda and to drive that agenda. Then what do you think were the main achievements since 2020? Well, this might be a surprising response. What I'm showing you here is a visual aerial shot of a part of Cape Town where I live. And you will notice earlier I said it was a physically beautiful city. Economically, it is extremely unequal. And this is a part of Cape Town where there's a very wealthy area right next door to a very poor area. And if you consider what happened when students went home, and they went home to these extremely diverse environments, it became very clear and very visible how unequal society is. University campuses are able to ameliorate some of those divides through Wi-Fi and through laboratories and so on. But the online pivot exposed inequality, and I think that's a good thing. What we also saw is much more design for variety, much more multimodality, much more use of universal design for learning, much more focus on students with barriers to learning, and that is definitely something one would hope would continue going forward. And the last question, what should we do with MOOCs? Well, MOOCs have not gone away. What's really interesting about MOOCs, we know that they were widely participated in during the intense years of 20 and 21. Their numbers have gone up. What's happened to MOOCs is they've become incorporated into broader ecosystems of new types of stackable offerings. So here's Coursera, who doesn't even use the word MOOCs. They talk about free courses. And here's edX2U, who have a set of offerings starting with free MOOCs and then a range of different kinds of offerings. So we're seeing a new ecosystem, which is quite a contested space, but arguably a healthy one in the sense of more types of offering for more needs and for more different types of students. So MOOCs have not gone away. MOOCs have been incorporated into the ecosystem. So that's my answers to my 5 questions. Thank you so much for asking me to provide some ideas, and thank you, Fabio, and good luck to all of you with this exciting enterprise.